Hello and welcome to this Rivemont MicroCap Strategy monthly update for October 2022. My name is Matthew Martin and I'm a portfolio manager at Rivemont. Before we begin, I must mention that this presentation is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations or investment advice, and if I talk about companies during the presentation, Rivemont may hold positions in these companies and may trade on them at any time without prior notice. So as usual, we'll start with a snapshot of the Rivemont MicroCap Fund as at the end of October. The fund had 11 million of assets under management with an annualized return of 5% per year since inception in 2018. So again, unfortunately, it was a very challenging month for microcap stocks during October, and contrary to the previous few months, the market was actually up this month. So if we look at the larger indices, it was a pretty good month for the stock market in October. But for us and for microcaps, it was a down month. So it's hard to explain exactly why, and especially since 1 month is pretty short term in the stock market. But what that tells me is that there's an even larger dislocation in terms of valuations between small and micro caps compared to larger caps. And so that's the opportunity for us as microcap investors. When there are dislocations like that, it's where we can invest and get positioned for outstanding long-term returns. In terms of portfolio positions, we ended the month at 23. That's down 2 from last month. So during the month, we sold our 2 smallest positions in the portfolio. Those were companies that we didn't have a very high conviction that they would execute in the long run, and also those were such small positions that even if they did well, it wouldn't have made a very big difference for the returns of the fund as a whole. So we decided to sell those and reallocate the capital into higher conviction ideas. And finally, the concentration in the top 5 holdings was at 51% at the end of the month. So that's fairly similar to previous months. We are not really adding or reducing our top 5 positions for now. So in terms of investment strategy, as I mentioned, we sold 2 positions during the month. We continue to concentrate the portfolio into our highest conviction ideas. I think the bulk of this transition has been done now. The goal at the beginning of the year was to have the majority of the assets invested in the top 15 positions, and we're there. So we might sell a couple more holdings over time over the course of the next few months, but I don't expect that will concentrate the portfolio much more than what it is now. So I'm very pleased with how we are positioned currently. And secondly, the microcap team, Philip and I, will travel to Toronto in the next few weeks to visit a microcap company that we're doing research on. And I'm mentioning that just to let you know about our research process. It's a challenging market, and a lot of people have exited the market or have exited the microcap sector. There's a lot of pessimism, and there are a lot of opportunities in my opinion, and so we remain very active in searching for new opportunities and making sure the portfolio is positioned in the best opportunities available today. So we're traveling to Toronto to visit a company in person. It's a manufacturing company, so we'll be able to visit 2 of their plants in the area, and also to meet with the management team. Also maybe speak to other employees and see a bit what the culture looks like. So that extra level of research that we're willing to do compared to most investors is what allows us to make better investment decisions for the long term. So for example, it can make the difference between investing or not. Do we buy a position or not, and then if we do, when is the right time to sell? So we can enhance those decisions by knowing the company better than most people, and that's by doing a lot of underground research, like we'll be doing in the next few weeks. So we're very happy to continue doing that, and we think that that's the edge that we have in the market, is doing that kind of research. Now in terms of outlook, it's actually going to be outlook and question, because there's a question that we receive quite often from existing investors or prospective investors. It's how do we manage the liquidity of the portfolio? As you probably know, our microcap strategy invests in very illiquid stocks, so it can be challenging to buy our positions, and we have a few strategies to do that. For example, by participating in financing or buying a block of shares from an existing shareholder. But if we want to exit a position, it can also be quite challenging, depending on the volume of the stocks that we're willing to sell. So how do we manage this liquidity for our investors? First of all, we always keep a very comfortable cash position. So typically between 5 and 10% of the assets under management will remain in cash. And that benefits us two ways. First, we can act quickly on new opportunities. If we find a new company that we like, and the window of opportunity to buy it is narrow, we can act quickly. And then if somebody, an investor, wants to withdraw from the fund, we have the capital available to pay the withdrawals without any problem, or without having to sell stocks in a hurry. Then secondly, we require a 1 month advance notice for people who want to withdraw from the fund. And so that allows us to have some visibility on the cash flows coming in and out of the fund, and also allows us to affords us some time to sell stocks if we need to. And lastly, I think we have a very diversified and patient investor base. So there's no single shareholder that owns a significant portion of the assets under management in the fund. And I think the vast majority of people have been very, very patient, especially in a tough market like we are now. And that's a competitive advantage for us. Because if we look at other funds in the Canadian market, a lot of them are facing very severe withdrawals from their investors, and they are forced sellers of stocks at the worst possible time. So us, by having a very patient and long-term investor base, we can be on the other side of those trades and buy the stocks that the forced sellers are selling at this moment. And so I think that positions us very well for long-term outperformance. And finally, I must say again that I think the prospective returns from the current levels are very attractive, in my opinion. I've been investing in the microcap sector for several years, and I've never seen so many bargains, so many undervalued stocks. It's pretty impressive, and I think the way we are positioned now in high quality companies that are trading at cheap valuations, I think when the market turns eventually and we return in a bull market, I think the microcap strategy will be very, very well positioned to outperform. So that's it for the monthly update for October 2022. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out, And you can also visit the website rivemont.ca if you want to find out more information about our strategies. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next month.